The US government just told the Fed to open payment rails to crypto. Ethereum lost its top engineers and no one is explaining why. And institutions are quietly moving billions on-chain. My name is Sergey and I'm DevRel at GetBlock. This is Running Web3 Weekly. We have video every Monday. Let's get started. The first quarter of 2026 was defined by record on-chain activity on Solana, although its token declined 33% of its price. Messari published the State of Solana first quarter 2026 report on May 19th. Average daily non-vote transactions hit a new all-time high of 112.6 million. Chain GDP held essentially flat at $342 million. RWA market cap grew 43% to $2 billion. Stablecoin market cap held at $14.85 billion. RWA lending deposits jumped 150% quarter-over-quarter, overtaking Ethereum for the first time. All those trends underscore Solana's role as a settlement layer for tokenized economy. And the most important and quite thought-provoking thing in this report is a significant gap between price and activity. And in our opinion, this is kind of a signal of Solana's growing as not just a speculative market or things like that. We are talking about something as institutional trust to this chain. By the way, Solana is the only major blockchain which is both compatible with Stripe's MPP standard and Coinbase's X402. We mentioned those standards a lot in our videos, because this is a shift that we are observing currently about payment rails for an agent economy. If you're building something at the intersection of AI payments, you should definitely take a look at what Solana can provide to your project. And in that case, you're definitely gonna need a reliable RPC node provider. We at GetBlock were able to build the world's fastest Solana node, less than 2 milliseconds finality. Check our links in the description to test it out. 9 Ethereum Foundation engineers left in 2026, and the EF still has not explained why. The 2026 exit list includes engineers and former co-executive director. All 3 protocol cluster leads have now departed. Community members posted a screenshot of the EF org chat with every departed name. The EF has already named several people as replacements. And actually the silence of the Ethereum Foundation is not really a good thing for their reputation, because in this kind of vacuum of knowledge, community just starts spreading out their own theories about probable reasons and causes of those things. Dunkrat Faced published the clearest critique yet. The way to save Ethereum is for the community to create an organization that's economically aligned with Ethereum and accountable to it. Lorashin was even more direct. Ethereum's original sin is not considering tokenomics in every decision since the Denkan upgrade. It's not good for Ethereum that its most competitive people are leaving. We talked a lot about Glamsterdam in the previous video, and actually its release date is now gonna be a real stress test for the Ethereum Foundation. The President of the United States just told the Federal Reserve to open its doors for crypto firms. And the banking industry is not quite happy about it. On May 19th, Trump signed an executive order directing the heads of financial regulators to review their existing rules and identify, quote, fintech firms from entering into partnership with federally regulated institutions. This provision may specifically benefit some companies in Wyoming. The Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas already granted Kraken, a Wyoming SPDI, access to a limited version of its so-called master account earlier this year. So, if you're building payment infrastructure in the US market, you should definitely watch how the Federal Reserve would apply those possible rules. The most anticipated Solana upgrade is taking longer than expected. However, the lead engineer says it's all by design. CoinDesk interviewed the lead engineer at Jump's crypto Firedancer project on May 16th. The team emphasized a slow and steady approach focusing on performance, security and reliability, as they advance towards mainnet deployment. Firedancer is completely independent validation client for Solana. Having two independent clients on mainnet is critical for network resilience. If one has a bug, the other keeps the chain running. Currently, Solana's run everything on Agave, which makes this chain quite vulnerable. So, slow and ready is not quite a red flag from infrastructure team. It's actually kind of a red flag, because the alternative is shipping fast and breaking the network. Firedancer has already demonstrated sub-millisecond block processing in benchmarks. The team is not working on performance, they are working on production readiness. So if you're building infrastructure on Solana, you should definitely watch what Firedancer gonna deliver, because when it's finally gonna be a part of Solana's ecosystem, it will be less resilient and more reliable. Another breach, another 11 million, and the pattern is becoming quite impossible to ignore. On May 18th, the Verus Ethereum breach was hacked. The attacker made off with more than 100 BTS, 1,600 ETH and almost 150,000 USDC. The exploit worked by releasing funds without properly verifying backing on the Verus site. So, in May 2026 alone, we are talking about more than $300 million lost in breaches, although the April of 2026 is still the champion, more than $600 million lost. The pattern is becoming increasingly clear. Attackers are moving away from obvious smart contract bugs and focusing on verification failures and infrastructure compromise. So, if you're building any cross-chain breach infrastructure, you should definitely watch out not just for your smart contracts code, but to how it actually works under the hood when we are talking about verification assumptions. 37 European banks just told that they want stablecoin which is not controlled by Americans. On May 20th, the Qivalis consortium announced that 25 more banks, including ABN AMRO, Rabobank, Nordea and Intesis, have joined its Euro stablecoin project. Qivalis is an Amsterdam-based company which is planning to launch their own Euro stablecoin backed with euro. Its CEO said the euro is Europe's currency and on-chain financial infrastructure should carry it, built by European institutions and governed by European rules. Pretty soon, stablecoins economy gonna hit $300 billion market value, dominated almost entirely by Tether and Circle. So if you're building payment infrastructure which is designed to work with the European clients, you should definitely watch the second quarter of 2026, and you should definitely watch how your projects can interact with non-dollar payment assets. Hyperliquid just had its first Wall Street wrappers, and the market noticed it. 21 Shares launched THYP on Nasdaq on May 13th, the first ever US-listed spot HYPE ETF. Bitwise launched BHIP on the New York Stock Exchange on May 15th, the first to use in-house staking infrastructure. Coinbase simultaneously announced it would become the official USDC treasury deployer for Hyperliquid. HYPE hit an all-time high of $62 on May 21st. And the ETF story matters not because of those prices, we're not really talking about those things in this program, but it matters for another reason. When 21 Shares and Bitwise filed for and launched a product, they were making a bet that institutional allocators want exposure to this asset. Hyperliquid processed 2.9 trillion in perpetual futures volume in 2025. Actually, the Hyperliquid story is a template. Build infrastructure that processes real volume, generate real protocol revenue, use that revenue for buybacks, and institutional wrappers follow. So mates, this was Week in Web3, almost without token prices. My name is Sergey and I'm DevRel at GetBlock. We have video every Monday. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to this channel. See you next Monday.